Hey guys, today I have the Ownice C500 7-inch Android car audio deck courtesy of Gearbest. It arrived very well packaged in a box with lots of packaging, and basically this deck is an Android unit that has a 7-inch LCD touchscreen. It's the resolution is 1024 by 600 with an aspect ratio of 16:9. And so it has very decent specs. It has a MT3561 quad-core ARM Cortex-A53 SoC running at a max of 1.6 gigahertz. So, and it has 2 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigabytes of onboard flash. It also has a micro SD card slot for adding more storage, as well as GPS, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. And it will also support cellular data via a GSM SIM slot. It has 3 USB 3.0 ports, as well as your standard AM/FM tuner. There are many variants or many versions of the C500, but the OL-7002F and OL-666F are universal models that work with most cars that have a standard double DIN compartment. So I'm just gonna quickly unbox this and show you what's inside. So it comes in this nice box here, and right off the bat, we are gonna remove this package here, which has a bunch of the wiring. And the unit I got also comes with basically a camera, a USB camera. So here's the connections for that. I'll show you that later. And well, let's take a look at what's inside this bag of parts here. So essentially you have the wiring harness. So this is the wiring harness that connects to the unit itself, as well as to the factory wiring. More on that later. And it has the GPS antenna, as well as 2 antennas for cellular. And this one here is basically a wiring harness for the audio video input and output. So if you plan on using a subwoofer, or if you plan to output to external displays, you're going to need to also plug this to the unit. Let's take a look at the actual unit itself. So it came really well packaged with a lot of foam to protect the screen. And I'm just going to take this out really quickly to show you what it looks like. So this is the deck. It's got one dial to change the volume, as well as turn it on and off. And it has a few buttons here. And this is a really nice 7-inch screen. Very big. Nice touchscreen display with a microphone there, and this is the back of it. And this is where you would plug your various cables. So this is the wiring harness that will plug in the back here, as well as interface with your car's factory wiring. And this piece here, this plugs into here. And at the very bottom here, this is where your antenna goes. But anyways, I'll talk more about the installation. And these are the various ports for USB, microphone, as well as the Wi-Fi antenna. And these gold things are where you plug the antenna for your GPS, as well as your cellular antennas. So this unit, since it's loaded with Android 6.0, it's basically like a smartphone, letting you run your favorite apps and games from the Google Play Store. You know, from watching movies, YouTube, to playing games. Pretty much anything you can do on a smartphone or a tablet, you can do on this unit. And network access is available from Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi hotspot from your phone, or GSM SIM, which you install in here. There's a compartment here where you put the GSM SIM and the micro SD card slot, so that fits in there. And it has GPS, so you can use offline maps like SciGic, so you could download the maps ahead of time so you don't use any data. or you can use Google Maps and Waze also if you have data when you're on the road. So installation of this unit isn't super hard. I mean, the hardest part I think is removing like the molding for your dash to get the old deck out. I'm not much of a car guy myself, and I was able to install it without any issues. If you're less techy, then you should probably pay somebody or get a friend to help you do it. So this is a standard, like this unit comes in a standard double DIN format. Basically most new cars today will use a double DIN. So this is my factory deck that I took out of my car, and as you can see, it's the same size. So 18 centimeters by 10 centimeters, and this is the same size as my stock deck from my car. So it's 18 by 10. So you'll know that it should fit. This is like a universal standard kind of form factor used in most modern cars that have this type of deck. And the unit itself is actually 18 centimeters by 10 centimeters, 18 centimeters wide by 10 centimeters high by 17.5 centimeters deep. So it's very comparable to my stock deck. So in terms of the things you'll need to install it, you'll need some plastic prying tools. That's highly recommended because you don't want to scratch the plastic on your dash. A wiring harness adapter, and the wiring harness adapter is different. They're different and specific to each car, but you can buy for under $10, and it really helps in terms of it allows you to easily plug it into your factory wiring. And you may or may not need an antenna adapter to basically allow the antenna, the AM/FM antenna from your car to plug into the C500 if your car doesn't use a standard antenna plug. So I'm going to talk about in general terms of to install it in a car. It's different for every car, and like I said, I'm not much of a car guy, but I managed to figure out the wiring relatively easily. And the hardest part, like I said, was removing the dash, the molding for the dash of your car, and basically use prying tools. So this way you don't scratch up the deck. I also used a car harness adapter to splice with the C500 harness. Basically, it allows you to install an aftermarket radio like the C500 with using the existing factory wiring and connectors without doing permanent damage to the factory wiring. You may or may not need an antenna adapter like this one. If your car uses a different type of adapter plug, like antenna plug, you may require this. Basically, the C500 uses like a round antenna plug, and my car, it uses like this square proprietary plug, so it won't plug into the C500 for the radio. So I had to get this adapter plug, and these go for less than $10 as well. But it really depends on your car. You may or may not need this, but I needed this in my case. So after you're done splicing the C500 wiring harness to the car harnesses adapter, it should look something like this picture. And it's just a matter of plugging it into the factory wiring, and that's pretty much it. So it's not too complicated to do, but in general terms, that's how I did it. You do need a couple of other things to be able to install this, but it's pretty simple, and I would highly recommend it if you're kind of techie, but if you're not, you can always pay someone to do it, like I said. So here it is installed in my car, and this is the interface that you see. It's a very generic kind of interface, and right over here you can see the slots for the micro SD as well as the SIM. I actually have a GSM SIM installed, and as you can see from the top right hand corner, it says 3G, so I'm getting really solid signal here from the two antennas. And as well, on the left hand side you'll see 4 buttons: the home, back, and Navi and band button. The only one that is programmable is the Navi button, the rest are not. And basically the first thing I'll show you is the radio, and this radio supports RDS, so it will show you song information as well as the station information on some radio stations, not all, and it's only supported with FM. So right here, this station does not, whereas I believe the one, I'm going to click on the one here, and this one actually supports RDS, and you can see that it shows the the singer, the artist of the song, as well as the song title. So it really depends on the radio station, but this radio does support RDS. So here's the stock MP3 player, which is pretty simple. It will basically show you the song title and the cover art. If you want something more complicated, you can of course download, say, maybe Power Amp, which is a lot better, I think, in terms of a music player, and you can get that off of the Play Store. Next, I'm going to run CPU-Z and show you the information on the processor, the SoC. So you can see that's a quad core. And on the device, this is where you can see the size, the resolution of the screen and how much RAM is installed. And finally, in system, this is where you'll find basically which version of Android is installed and the build number, etc. So if you hook up an ODB2 Bluetooth adapter, you can use torque and then basically see real-time statistics on your car. This is helpful for diagnosing your car if it has issues. There's also a built-in movie player, which I think is just XM player, that allows you to play movies and music videos, basically any video file that you want. I haven't really run into a file format it wouldn't play, but here I'm playing some MP4s that I downloaded off YouTube, and you can see that it's actually pretty smooth and the resolution is decent. I think this is a 1080p video that I downloaded, and it's playing at 1024 by 1600, so it's actually pretty smooth. So when you start up your car, the audio deck will turn on and it will load a certain logo, and I'll show you how to change that to match your car. So if you have a Ferrari, if you have a Porsche, you can change the logo to match your car. So basically what you need to do is go down to the general settings. Here you can set a few other things, but the one that you want to really take a look at is the boot logo. So we're going to click on that, and the code for that is 49, so 999, and hit OK. And here you can select the logo that is appropriate for your car. It should have boot logos for most of the manufacturers out there, and if it doesn't, there is a generic one as well, so it should have it all covered. Next, I'll show you the hidden settings, and the hidden settings are used to basically enable or disable certain features of your deck, and basically you enter the code 1260 and that should get you in there. You want to be careful when messing around with these settings because it can really mess up your audio deck and prevent it from working. So in here you can enable or disable certain apps by changing the menu icon. So if you remove it, they won't show up on your dashboard, and you can change other things as well. If you know what the settings do, go right ahead and change it, but if you don't, I would recommend that you leave it alone. After you're done making all your changes, make sure that you click the save button, and then it should ask you to reboot. So just like any Android device, you can play games with it. So I personally like to run emulators, and I'll just show you quickly what it looks like playing a game. So I'm going to play Bonk's Adventure. And you can of course use your on-screen controls, but it's going to be hard to play. But since it has Bluetooth, you can obviously hook up a Bluetooth device. So in my case, I'm actually using this 8-bit Do 0 controller, and it works really well. Any Bluetooth controller should work with it, and it's a lot better than using the touchscreen. So the C500 I bought actually came with a USB camera for dash cam capabilities, and it plugs into the back of the USB socket, and you want to make sure that you plug it into the one that says USB/DVR. There's an actual USB socket designed specifically just for the USB camera, and if you plug it to any of the other USB ports, it won't work. So make sure you plug it into the right socket and it should work. So the C500 comes with an application called Traffic Guard, and this application will basically work with the included USB camera to record basically your driving. So if you don't have a dash cam, this is what you'll need. I already have a dash cam, so I don't really use it that much, and honestly the camera isn't that great. It's a little grainy, and partly because it's kind of dark out, but the quality is just not there for me to use as a dash cam. But if you don't already have a dash cam, any dash cam is better than no dash cam. So the included one is sufficient, I think, if you don't already have one. But I highly recommend that you buy a dedicated dash cam. This way you can record potential accidents or scams while you're driving. So here are the settings for the application, And here you can set the resolution as well as some other settings here, like formatting the card. And here is the version of the software. So that's the Ownice C500 OL-7002F Android audio unit. I didn't have a lot of issues installing it in my car. Like I said, it's much better than my stock audio unit, which didn't even have Bluetooth. This deck will allow me to basically listen to my podcast as well as play games and watch videos while I'm waiting in the car. So if you're looking for a way to upgrade your stereo in your car, take a look in the description for links to the items I mentioned. I'm really glad Gearbest sent this to me to try out, and it's definitely staying in my car. Anyways, comment, like, share, or subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.